64 Tacos Podcasts presents Is This Song Good? This is episode 56. The Black Keys, Things Ain't Like They Used to Be.
Welcome back to the Is the Song Good podcast, the 64 Tacos podcast. We're continuing season 4 with the deep cuts. And this week we're doing the Black Keys song, Things Ain't Like They Used to Be, from Attack and Release. This album came out in 2008. The singles for it were Strange Times, I Got Mine, Oceans and Streams, and Same Old Thing. And I don't really remember exactly how I came to learn about the Black Keys or how I listened to this album, but I did, and I listened to the album all the way through, and I don't think it really struck me in any particular way about the singles. I don't think that was the driving force. I think it was just kind of like in amongst the indie rock that I was getting into, and just kind of, I read some blog and it said, "Hey, Black Keys are really cool," and I was like, "Okay, let me go and find out for myself." And I really liked this album all the way through, but there were definitely a few songs at the end that really struck me, and Oceans and Streams was one of them, and that was actually the one that I was going to pick for this. But then I read that it was apparently a single, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that one, even though I don't think I ever heard it on any sort of radio or anything. But luckily, the next track right after it, this song, is even more interesting, I think. So what do you guys think about it?
Well, I really like this one. It just has this neat sound to it. So, as we've discussed before, I didn't hear any new music from 2002 to 2015. There was no new music. So I completely missed this one and the Black Keys and all that stuff. And I don't know if you, Zach, introduced me to the Black Keys, back when music started being a thing again in the last 5 years, or if I happened upon the Black Keys because of them being in an algorithm or something. But I really like them. I think they're one of the better bands from the new millennium. And man, I don't have anything specific to say other than I really liked it. I don't know, Dan, what are your thoughts?
This band was, I think, Zach, you actually just album dumped me a few legally copied versions of some of their albums.
Yes,
when I came to visit, and 2010 or 11 or whatever, which is actually after this album came out. But this is not one of the ones you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not actually very familiar with this album. I had the earlier ones when it was super lo-fi, and then also Brothers, which I think is 1 or 2 after this.
Yeah.
And I think you were just like, oh yeah, this is pretty good. I think you might have said something to the effect of, it's like the White Stripes, with a good drummer.
Yes, that's right.
Which is
that is definitely how I think of them.
Yeah. And he's not the world's greatest drummer, but he is a proficient drummer who knows how to keep regular time. And part of that is Jack White deliberately, I'm sure Meg White could record a take that's in time, but Jack White is not interested in anything being done in a neat and orderly fashion. So,
yeah.
But anyhow, they were definitely super lo-fi on their first 2 albums. I think they were recorded in basements and living rooms and not studios. And you can really hear it. And it's just guitar, voice, drums. And I really like that stuff. And then they at a certain point, I think this is the first album, I was reading a little bit about it. The first album, they started working with Danger Mouse, who also produced Brothers. I actually thought Brothers was the first one because I totally missed this album when I was listening to them a lot, about 10 years ago. But I thought Brothers was the first one, the Danger Mouse, because that has a totally different sound to their earlier stuff. And but this was the first one, it looks like. And it has that sound that they moved to, at least this song does, that sort of produced kind of the rough edges sanded down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That they sort of went to honestly, from this point all the way till I think their Delta Cream album of covers of blues songs is the first one that has a little bit of that, a little more rawness, which I think I just came out like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
this is a really good, really well executed song. It's really simple, you know. It never gets loud or crazy, really, and I like it. It's very likable, you know. It's simple without being like overly polished or, you know, not enough. I think it's really good. I think my only like I have developed a sort of like dislike for this middle phase, or the latter phase of Black Keys. Not because this, or even I actually quite like the whole album, Brothers. I know that one pretty well. This one sounds just a little bit like it, just from the couple songs that I listened to outside of Things Ain't Like They Used to Be. And these are actually really good albums. But it was the beginning of their transition to their like their whole period where they were just making big radio hits.
yeah,
And I went from really, really liking this band to being quite done with them after a while. And I was like, nope, I'm done. And it's, you know, sometimes you get overexposed to something and then you're like, I don't want to hear it anymore. I think this album, it sounds like, and then Brothers still, it's like, that's a good amount of that sound. If you compare this to like their earlier stuff, like off of Thick Freakness and their earlier albums, it's a really quiet and polished sound, and it's really good. And I think the fact that it's quite simple as far as the instrumentation and the performance keeps it from sounding too polished, and that really works to its advantage. So I really like this song. I think it's very good, and it kind of made me think, oh yeah, I do like the Black Keys. I just kind of like shifted away from them at a certain point. Like Gold on the Ceiling might have been the turning point where I was like, that's it. I don't want to hear any more Black Keys for a while. But yeah, this was very good. I liked it.
yeah. I know what you're saying. I think they're at their best when they're just kind of building a song around like a bluesy riff, and they're not really trying to construct something that they want to get, radio exposure or lots of listens, lots of plays, or show up in movies or something like that. And and these earlier albums and this song in particular are, I think, a lot like that, and that's what stood out to me. Like the earlier songs, I was very familiar with Strange Times, and I got mine from this album, early singles, and those really don't, they're okay songs, but they don't really strike me in any way. But this one with its, it's like, it's cool sort of bluesy riff melody that then Dan Auerbach kind of like echoes with his singing at parts. His kind of strange like solo, it almost sounds like a waterfall-y type thing going on. The vocal harmonies, like this is I think the only track on there that has a female singer. It says she's a bluegrass country singer, Jessica Lee Mayfield, was kind of doubling or duetting the chorus parts. The drony organs, it really works together in a great way. And I don't think they were trying to focus on like, oh, this needs to be on the radio, or this is going to be a pop hit. And I think that's when they're at their best, when they're just kind of jamming out on some sort of blues riff and doing their thing, and it's really good. So yeah, I agree with you in that respect.
Yeah, it's nice to hear music that just kind of gets to the core of, like you said, of the blues sound and the rock sound, and just does its thing for the sake of doing it, not because they want to write the best song or be the biggest band or have the best hits or whatever. It's just genuine. It feels like genuine songwriting to me.
Yeah,
that's what I like. One of the things I really like about it.
Although I should mention, I can't blame people for, after struggling for 7 or 8 years, for taking a turn towards actually making some damn money. So,
oh, absolutely,
no judgment. If you're in a band, after a while, you're like, all right, if we can do this, maybe we should just do this, even if even if there's an element of, oh, you're selling out. It's like, yeah, okay, but they're paying bills and putting money in their IRAs, so maybe don't worry about it.
And on that note, I want to encourage everyone to try the new Diet Dr. Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Diet Dr.
Yes.
Mountain Dew Pib. Thunder. Yeah.
Shameless. Right. Yes.
Shameless plug for a thing that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, I mean, I still like Black Keys. I like their newer albums, but I definitely do not find, little gems, deep cut gems on their new albums like I did on their old albums, and I think that's unfortunate, because I wish that they would, in addition to making the money, you can still throw out some songs that are,
right,
more interesting or more flavorful, and but whatever they got to do, they do their thing, and I'll keep listening to them, and I'll keep hoping for the best. So what do we got next week?
Up next week, we have a Fountains of Wayne song called A Fine Day for a Parade.
All right. See you then.
See you then.
I caught it on audio.